Hello everyone, I hope all of you guys are doing well. So in this particular class of answer writing, which is the fourth class of our series, we are going to discuss how to understand various UPSC questions, especially the ones that are harder to understand. Some are simply definition based, while the others might be longer. They might have statements attached to the beginning of the actual question, and those are the ones which get a little tricky. So in this particular class, I'm going to help you to figure out a way in which you can understand the questions better and you can quickly practice in order to write well for this particular answers. Now, it is not uncommon that we see a lot of aspirants are actually not understanding the questions properly and just writing anything. मैंने ऐसी बहुत सारी copies देखी हैं in which actually the question asked is something else and the answer that is given is something totally different. So this kind of a mistake you should not do in the paper, because the examiner is carefully reading your answers, and if your answer is not at all related to what has been asked or what is the main crux of the question, then you will not get any marks. And there are only two reasons for why this happens. The first reason is that you might not be aware of the topic only, that what is the question asking about. You might not have studied it might be from outside the syllabus, or it might be a little difficult for you to remember what you study about it. You might not be able to relate it to the syllabus. So all these reasons might actually contribute to you not knowing that particular topic. And if you don't know it, then I will tell you a method in order to be still able to write something. तो अगर आपको बिल्कुल भी नहीं आता and still write something, I will tell you how to do that. Okay. And the second reason is that you are not able to understand what the question is asking. Question is asking something, but you are not able to really kind of figure out in your mind what the question is asking. You might have studied it, that particular topic, you might have knowledge about that particular topic, but you simply don't understand the question because of the language problems or because of the complexity of the particular statement. So what are the various steps you should follow in order to understand any question? Well, the first thing you should do is you should first look out for any of the keywords that are given in that particular question. Keywords होते हैं हर क्वेश्चन में जो डिफाइन करते हैं कि क्वेश्चन का मेन पर्पस क्या है, उसमें क्वेश्चनर में पर्टिकुलर एग्जामिनर क्या पूछ रहा है. तो ये क्वेश्चन में कीवर्ड्स ढूंढो और कीवर्ड्स को आउटलाइन कर दो. एंड बेसिकली दीज आर द मेन कॉन्सेप्ट, राइट. इससे आपको हिंट मिलेगा कि आपको क्वेश्चन आखिर पूछ क्या रहा है. सेकंड जो होता है वो होता है कि यू हैव टू अंडरलाइन दिस पर्टिकुलर कीवर्ड्स, एंड अंडरलाइन करने के बाद क्वेश्चन पेपर पे आपको ध्यान रहेगा कि हाँ इसके बारे में क्वेश्चन पूछा है, तो बार बार आप उसको ध्यान करके उसके बारे में फिर आंसर लिख सकते हैं. थर्ड वन इज दैट विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, दैट नॉर्मली दिस हैपन्स इन लॉन्ग क्वेश्चंस. क्वेश्चंस कहाँ समझने नहीं आते हैं, जहाँ पे क्वेश्चन काफ़ी लंबा होता है, तो उसमें आप क्वेश्चन को डिवाइड कर दीजिए स्मॉल पार्ट्स में, और फिर स्मॉलर पार्ट्स को डिसाइफर अंडरस्टैंड करने की कोशिश करिए, और फिर उन स्मॉलर पार्ट्स का ही आंसर लिखिए. उससे आपका पूरा एक क्वेश्चन का आंसर बन जाएगा. एंड आई विल शो यू हाउ टू डू दिस. बेसिकली दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग टेक्निक विच वर्क्स फॉर प्रीटी मच एवरीथिंग. If you don't understand a complex subject, complex topic, divide it into smaller parts and then read about it. So similarly, if there is a long question in which you are not able to understand the statement, divide it into small parts. And lastly, when you don't know anything about that particular question, try to recall from which part of the syllabus that particular question has been asked. ठीक है. इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज क्या होता है, कई बार लेट्स से आपको डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट पे एक क्वेश्चन पूछा है, बट यू हैव नॉट रेड अबाउट डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट प्रॉपर्ली, बट जस्ट ट्राई टू रिमेंबर एनी काइंड ऑफ सब टॉपिक्स और हेडिंग्स यू माइट हैव सीन in the books from that particular topic. Try to remember what in UPSC syllabus that topic, what subtopics that had. Let's say in disaster management there might be about management, disaster management act, there might be something about the task force that is formed at the district level, there might be something about let's say even different kind of disasters that might happen like man-made disaster or natural disaster. So ऐसे करके उसके सब टॉपिक्स को याद करने की कोशिश करिए. ये कोशिश करिए कि आप सिलेबस में से कुछ उस टॉपिक्स के पार्ट्स अगर मेंशन्ड है उनको याद करने की कोशिश करिए. इसलिए दैट्स व्हाई आई टेल यू the syllabus reading is very very important. And once you remember that, once you try to put that kind of focus in your mind, eventually you will be able to have some general points for that particular answer. Okay, so I want you to do these 4 things in order to understand the question. So now let's read a question and apply these particular techniques I have told you. So these are the hard questions I have picked. These are 15 mark questions from the 2020 paper, and they will help you to see how what I've taught you so far can be applied in practice. So the first thing is, the first question, let's read, that is the jurisdiction of the Central Bureau of Investigation. Now इसमें keywords पढ़ने के साथ ही एकदम लग रहा है कि keyword क्या हो सकता है, jurisdiction of CBI regarding lodging of an FIR and conducting probe within a particular state is being questioned by various states. Okay. Explain the power of the states to withhold consent to the CBI is not. However, the power of the states to withhold consent to the CBI is not absolute. Explain with special reference to the federal structure character of India. So basically, what are the keywords here? Keywords are, okay, I'll just kind of delete this so that we can underline the keywords. Jurisdiction of CBI. Okay. It is questioned by various states. However, the power of states to withhold the consent of CBI is not absolute. The consent of CBI not absolute. Explain with reference to federal structure of India. So here UPSC keywords here you should remember is CBI jurisdiction. अब थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है क्वेश्चन अंडरस्टैंड करने में, लंबा है, स्टेटमेंट है, क्लियर नहीं है कि क्वेश्चन एक्चुअली क्या पूछ रहा है. एक्सप्लेन विथ स्पेशल रेफरेंस टू द फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ इंडिया. सो इट इज आस्किंग यू डिराइव्ड काइंड ऑफ एन आंसर. तो कीवर्ड्स आप पहले लिख लीजिए और स्मॉलर पार्ट्स में क्वेश्चन को डिवाइड कर लीजिए, जो मैंने से बताया था कि लुक आउट फॉर द कीवर्ड्स. नंबर 1, अंडरलाइन देम एंड देन डिवाइड इट इनटू स्मॉलर पार्ट्स. CBI jurisdiction is the first keyword. Then the second keyword is states. Third is consent of CBI. Consent to CBI not absolute. And fourth is federal character or structure of India. Okay, federal structure लिख लो, character लिख लो. So basically जब आप keywords को छोटे छोटे भाग में डिवाइड कर लेंगे, अब आपको समझ में आ गया क्वेश्चन कि CBI कई बार स्टेट्स में टेकअप करती है बहुत सारे केसेस. इट टेक्स ए लॉट ऑफ केसेस. फॉर दैट इट रिक्वायर्स द कंसेंट ऑफ द स्टेट्स, बट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस लॉट ऑफ फ्रिक्शन गेट्स क्रिएटेड बिटवीन द स्टेट्स एंड द सेंट्रल, बिकॉज सेंटर की ही एजेंसी है CBI. CBI is a central agency. So that's why this question is about how that affects the federal structure of the country. See, if you were to kept reading the question, it would become harder. If you just try to keep at reading the statement of the question, it will become very hard. But if you just break it down into smaller keywords, write down those keywords or underline those keywords and just try to break the question into smaller parts, then you will understand. Another thing you can do is you can relate it to a recent current affair in order to just get an idea कि क्वेश्चन क्या पूछ रहा है. देखो, ये करंट अफेयर क्वेश्चन नहीं है. You don't need to give an example of current affairs here. The question is theoretical कि CBI की जो jurisdiction होती है उसकी वजह से स्टेट और सेंटर में फेडरल जो एक स्ट्रक्चर है, फेडरल रिलेशनशिप है, उस पर इफेक्ट कैसे आता है. सो करंट अफेयर अगर आपको याद आएगा कि हाँ, मे बी इन केस ऑफ महाराष्ट्र इन द सेंटर, मे बी इन केस ऑफ वेस्ट बंगाल इन द सेंटर, देयर वर ए लिटिल बिट ऑफ questions of CBI's jurisdictions asked by the states, and similarly center had certain different opinions. So that's why this question is coming up. All right, so keeping that in mind, what we will do is we will directly go to the answer of this question first, and then I will come to how I got to this answer. Similarly, in the first line I defined what the CBI does. You can define it in different ways. This is a very basic definition, very basic one-liner, that CBI looks into matters of corruption or major criminal cases in the country. Very simple. You can also say that CBI is a central agency or a federal agency that looks into various cases of corruption or major criminal cases across the country. Now then I defined what are the CBI's powers vis-a-vis states, because UPSC is asking in this question about CBI's powers. So first you define the CBI's powers when it comes vis-a-vis states in respect with states. So CBI's power, CBI's की अगर power देखी जाए तो police is a state subject, therefore state government has complete power of the police. On the other hand, CBI has been established under the special DSP Act, Delhi Special Police Act, which is a central act, hence it could encroach over state jurisdiction in various investigation matters. So CBI's power comes from the DSP Act, but there is also a state police, so there is a certain kind of jurisdiction and certain kind of overlap of powers that is happening, and that can be a cause of concern. And then need of consent. CBI is required to have a general consent from the state government before beginning an investigation in the state. However, this condition often leads to delay in justice delivery due to underlying political currents. Now there are two things, major things when this question is asked. It is asking about the jurisdiction of the CBI over the state matters, for filing a FIR, for conducting any kind of investigation within a state. So यहाँ पे हमने उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा description बता दिया है. And then we come to the main crux of the question, which is CBI and federalism. How CBI's powers affect federalism. And here there are 4 points to that. Number one, the jurisdiction of CBI often comes into direct confrontation with state police, which causes issues in federal relationships. एक सीधा सीधा confrontation क्या होता है, पुलिस के साथ होता है, तो उसकी वजह से ये फेडरलिज्म में स्टेट और सेंट्रल के बीच में प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकती हैं. ए स्ट्रॉन्ग प्रोफेशनल एंड अनबायस्ड फेडरल एजेंसी is key to addressing corruption and address issues of national interest. Therefore, the need of such an agency cannot be denied. Now, need to hai because sometimes you need a central agency to conduct investigation into big matters. So that's why that cannot be denied. However, if such a body is politically influenced and weak institutionally, it can erode trust between the states and the center, which is key building block of federalism. So overall, how is it undermining or affecting federalism is that it can, if the body is completely controlled by the central government, of course there could be questions of institutional weakness in the particular body, which can lead to any kind of mistrust between the center and the states. And finally, such federal agencies also enable Supreme Court and the High Court to hand over cases of national importance to CBI. So even states have the power because they can appoint CBI, they can hand over the cases to CBI to conduct investigation, which really helps them to investigate cases that need a lot of professionalism, so even states can hand over various cases to the, so even states, Supreme Courts and High Courts can hand over the cases to the CBI, which enables a lot of people who otherwise are looking for justice in order to get justice quickly. Okay, therefore it is, now this is the conclusion, therefore it is clear from the above points that a strong central investigation agency is key in ensuring justice. I think I missed some points here. Justice delivery. However, such an agency should also have a strong institutional framework that insulates it from undue political influence. See, this question is a difficult question because it is not very clear about what it is asking, but if you break it down into smaller parts, then you are able to easily address that particular question. All right. The next is going to be about, next question we are going to, I want you to kind of dissect it and write answer in the comments. All right. So UPSC, first I saw the keywords, I defined the keywords, then I know the question is about simply CBI and the federal structure of India, and then further I divided into smaller parts and tried to answer those smaller parts in order to get this question right. So I want you to go ahead and try this question on Human Rights Commission. It has simply asked about the structural and practical limitations of Human Rights Commission. I want you to go into that question and answer that question. That way you will be able to understand how to apply this particular technique of dividing the question into smaller parts, understanding the keywords of the question and getting the question right. I hope this session helped you. If you had any doubts with these kind of questions, let me know. Practice, practice, practice is the key to getting it right every time. So I hope you do that. Take care. Bye bye.